Hey Gary, I appreciate you coming on my channel, and today we're going to talk to Gary because he is married with two
children.
And so we're going to talk about costs and expenses of what it is like to raise a family here in the Philippines. So stick around. All right, so Gary, you kind of have a unique, well, maybe not totally unique, but you have a similar situation that a lot of expats might find themselves in. You know, you came out to the Philippines, you found a good Filipina. She was a single mom.
Eventually. Mm-hmm.
Yep, eventually, and
it took 10 years.
it took me about 6. So yeah, mm-hmm. And you got married. And you have a child together now, so you are a family of 4.
Right.
And so I think people have some interest in wondering maybe what the cost is. I think there's a lot of videos out there about cost of living with maybe a single guy or a guy and a girlfriend, but not really a whole family. Is it quite a bit expensive? I mean, I know like private schools and public schools and school costs are pretty low. You know, maybe uniforms are low. I don't know, but can you help give us an idea?
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your channel.
Sure.
I appreciate it. And yeah, I've been out here 10 years pretty much in the Philippines, and as you said, I'm married, 2 kids. Now, one of my kids is my natural child. The other one is a stepchild. So my wife did have a child when I met her.
Sure.
And she's now my daughter. Mm-hmm. I'm actually in the process now of just about to start the adoption process, so I can, she can be legally my daughter out here.
You'll have to update us on that, because I've heard they changed the laws.
They did change the laws as actually just of this year, January 2022. They've changed it so you don't have to go through the court systems. It's all going through some kind of administrative process now.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be a lot quicker, a lot easier, less expensive. I'm told it's going to take 6 to 9 months, and costs on that, I'm being told, for the attorney around 50,000, which actually sounds like a lot, but compared with what it costs with the court system, it's a lot less. So that's a good thing. And yeah, then I've got my other daughter, Gracie.
Now, is your youngest daughter your natural biological daughter?
Yes.
Does she have citizenship for the United States or England or?
She's America.
So.
Yeah, so when she was born in February 2020, right at the very beginning of this awful pandemic, and so we were locked down with our little baby from the beginning. So I didn't apply for that right away because we couldn't even get out of the apartment, but it was just actually last October we finally got an appointment at the American consulate in Cebu and got her CRBA, it's a certificate of registration of birth abroad, and applied for her passport, social security number, so she's all done with that.
Okay. And you'll be able to do the same thing once you're legally adopted her?
You know what? That's a great question, and I actually asked them that the other day. Obviously it's a different process, but I believe I can apply to get once my stepdaughter becomes my legal adopted daughter. I should be able to apply for American citizenship for her.
Excellent.
That just leaves the wife.
Right.
So
now, when you were single living here, and now that you're married with 2 kids. What was your budget like? I think sometimes single life is more expensive than married life.
I was about to say that. I think I spent a lot more money when I was single, because obviously at that point I was out here, like a lot of people come out here, they want to enjoy life, travel, then getting into different relationships.
Sure.
And when you're single, you tend to go out for eating more, go out for dinner at restaurants, and
for sure.
So yeah, I think I was spending actually more money as a single man than I am as a married man.
Yeah,
so,
I would say when I switched to a relationship, we eat at home much more. We don't. Dating can be expensive even in the Philippines.
Yeah, it can be. However, in saying that, my budget isn't as low as I would like it to be.
Okay.
And I think that's, a lot of people think that is just naturally going to be cheap living out here.
It's not.
And it's really not. I'll tell you right now, we can break it down a little bit if you like, but right now I seem to be averaging about $2,000 a month.
Okay.
And I'm living I think a reasonably comfortable life for that. I had originally tried to set a budget of $1,500, and I'm just finding that very difficult to stay within that range. So realistically right now, for me, wife, the 2 kids, to live a reasonably comfortable life, it's around $2,000 a month it's costing me. And again, I'll break that down if you like.
Now, I found in the West that my biggest cost was rent, and then probably food. You find it the same here? Actually, rent is not my biggest cost here.
Well, let's break down some of the biggest costs. I mean, the housing costs, for instance. We've got the rent. I'm paying 20,000 pesos. So what's about, actually, with the exchange rate now, that's what, about $380 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
And going down, so.
I hope it continues.
I hope so too. Okay, let's just use the old number. So about $400, a little less for rent, and then electricity and other bills, internet. Probably add another. What's it? Electric bills, about 3,500 pesos or $70. Internet, 2,000. About 2,000 pesos, not 40. So, just around about 500.
Okay.
US dollar, maybe just a little bit more for housing and bills.
Right.
What else? That food is obviously the next, actually probably the biggest cost.
Right.
Especially with a family of 4.
Yeah.
And I do a couple of trips to the hypermarket each month, and I usually spend around 7,000-8,000 pesos, which covers most of our basic needs.
Right.
For the month on that.
Okay.
So what's that about? 15. That's about 300 plus just for basic needs on food. And then Michelin, there's always other things. We go to Valencia Market every Sunday, buy all our vegetables. So maybe another 100 a month.
Right.
I guess that's reasonable. Now, and another expense is going out. I do tend to go out to restaurants a lot.
Coffee shops.
And oh my God! Okay, yeah, good point. I spend a fortune in Ground Zero here, actually, and other coffee shops.
But you come here to work because it's quieter, it's the internet.
Yeah, my house is we have a great little place in Valencia, but it's a 2-bedroomed house, and it's not too huge. And I kind of have a office set up,
right?
But it's also my stepdaughter's bedroom.
Okay.
And it tends to get noisy at home.
Sure.
And my 2-year-old is always after my attention and often is banging on the door, daddy, daddy. So it's hard to concentrate it. So I tend to come down here and work.
Yeah.
And
now, do you guys go out a lot? Would you say you do a lot of family outings weekly? Does that?
Well, we're going to start trying to do more.
Yeah.
Now things are opening up. In fact, we just came back from a trip to Cipolai.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And spent 3 days at a resort there, which was really nice. First trip we've had away, actually, in a couple of years. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that an expensive trip? Or?
Yes.
It was? Okay.
It was. Well, I had to hire a car.
Okay.
Because I don't have a car out here in Dumaguete. I actually drive it's called... it's an M-Core Baja. It's a little 3-wheel trike thing.
Okay, yeah. You can fit all 4 of you in there?
Oh, yeah, easy.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really economical, so that's why my fuel costs aren't too much.
Right.
Which is another cost, but I mean, I only spend a couple of thousand pesos a month on fuel for that thing.
Sure.
But going to Cipolai, which is kind of a little
too
distance.
Far for that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so with the car, the hotel, food, I think that cost me about 25,000 for the whole trip. That's pesos, so
pretty expensive, really.
Well, yeah, it was.
Yeah. Now, was the car the biggest cost?
The car cost, what was that? The car and the fuel, total car cost were about 10, maybe more than that, 10, 11,000, maybe 12,000.
Yeah.
Because
So
the fuel
that's like
costs
half of it. Really?
yeah, and then the resort wasn't cheap because we had a family room,
Sure.
and so I think it's 3,500 a night.
Oh, okay.
So there's 10,000.
Yeah,
On that. So car and hotel there's 20,000 right there. The rest is just food.
yeah. Right.
So maybe I spent more than that. Come to think of it, wow.
Yeah, that's a big chunk.
Yeah.
Now, medical. I know your daughter was recently sick. She's feeling better now.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. She was very sick last week.
What kind of I know you went to the emergency room then?
Actually, no. I went to Holy Child Hospital, but that's where her pediatrician is.
Okay.
And so my daughter had fever for 4 days, like very high fever, and
Right.
getting very concerned, obviously. So took her there straight away. They wanted to admit her in the hospital because she's got,
Sure.
But-
high fever for 4 days.
Yeah, but due to previous experiences out here, I felt that wasn't the best thing to do right now. I asked the doctor to prescribe different antibiotics, and we said we'll take care of her at home. And thankfully, within a day, she was improving, and seems to be almost fully recovered now. So thankfully, we didn't have to
Good.
endure a hospital visit, which the last time this happened to us was a year ago, where they did admit us for a couple of nights. They found a way to charge us like 30,000 pesos
30,000 pesos
for 2 nights, and that was and that was all they did for that was stick her on an IV, and come in and visit her every couple of hours, and charge for all the protective equipment that I had to keep changing each time they came in, and
because of the COVID at that time.
anything they could charge. I mean, so that was 30,000, but I've heard stories where people are paying a lot more than that. So
Yes, yeah. And so this time around, you didn't admit her, but what kind of costs did you incur?
well,
Just getting
not admitting it's really. I mean, the doctor's visit's only like 500 pesos.
Right.
Or 400 pesos. Actually, the medications they prescribed ended up being the most expensive. That was about the different antibiotics and stuff around cough and nose. It was like 5,000 pesos it cost me for the medications.
So really, when you think of medical, the medical's not too expensive here, but when they admit you, it can get very expensive.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's and sometimes I think they're guilty out here of sending you into the hospital soon for financial reasons, because
It
they got an
really is a
excuse.
business here.
And especially if you're a foreigner,
Right.
oh, you need to be admitted. You've got money, come into the hospital. So.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of Filipinos, sometimes they have loved ones pass away at an earlier age than maybe in the West, because they just don't have the financial means to,
That's
give
that's
their,
absolutely true. I mean, the father of my stepchild passed away at 21 years old because they couldn't. He actually had a surgery that became infected and couldn't get to didn't have the money to get to a good hospital, and wherever he went just didn't take care of it. So.
Jeez.
Hospitals out here are an issue. I mean, not. I mean, I've heard occasionally a good story. Somebody will say, health care system is okay over here, but in my experience and from what I've heard, the majority of the time, it's not good.
It's not, yeah.
And I hear bad stories, and so I try to avoid at all costs.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend in a motorbike accident, and he was waiting for money to be wired in from the States. In the meantime, they cut off his pain medication and we put him in the hallway while he waited for the money to come in to pay the next round of bills that came in.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, we could probably talk about health care system stories forever, but
Right, exactly. So, anything you can do to cut expenses in the Philippines?
Yes.
What kind of
Yes, stop going out to coffee shops. Number one. I again, eating out, because actually eating out is not that expensive here still. I mean, it's a couple of favorite restaurants we go to, and I feed the family. Went out last night. 4 of us, we had a really good meal, at 900 pesos
right?
for 4 of us, and that's
And
less than $20.
And as when I was single, I almost found it less expensive just to go out and get myself a meal because it was just me. So going out,
No,
preparing,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. So
and you can. It's easy to cut costs. I mean, we're a little spoiled, in the West and the kind of food we eat. But if we want to save costs and eat like the Philippines eat, there's little restaurants and places where they serve their little cheap meals. You could cut your budget probably in half if you want to live more like a Filipino.
Right, and that's the key. Is do you want to live like a Filipino or all Western? Or?
Exactly. Most Westerns that come out here don't come out here to live, a poor life. They come out here because they want to have their money stretched further than it does in their home country, and they want to live a reasonably comfortable life.
Right.
So they want to go to nice restaurants and live in a decent place.
Now, have you experienced schooling yet?
I actually, I can tell you what that costs. I just went to, there's a big school here, Silliman University I mean, you can start school at kindergarten. They have Kinder 1, Kinder 2.
Now, that's a private school.
It's a private school, but my problem is even my stepchild, because she's been with me since she was just a little baby, so she's grown up listening to me and actually hasn't learned to speak Philippine language. She doesn't speak a word, I don't think a word of the Philippine language, so she only speaks English, so I can't send her to a local school because they're not going to know. So I had to find a school where they're teaching in English.
Right.
So at Silliman, they teach at kindergarten. They're teaching in English.
And that's probably one of the more expensive private schools.
Yeah. So I went to sign her up. I actually did sign her up for that. Got approved and everything. And that for the school year, that was going to cost 35,000 pesos.
Okay. So
plus a few extra costs for
around
books and stuff.
700 US for an entire school year, which really...
Right. And she was ready to start next week.
Okay.
But I was in there checking on a few things yesterday, and they just happened to bring up one little fact they hadn't mentioned before, which is that they're still not allowed to hold classes every day and have a full class. They've got to spread the students out.
Okay.
And because they're only allowed so many people in the class, they're only going to allow you to come 2 times a week.
And still charge the regular admission.
Well, this is what I was saying. And 2 times, and I just found this out after I'd even signed up, and it wasn't mentioned anywhere.
Right.
So I was in there finalising everything, just about to pay him actually, and having to ask a few questions. And I said, well, what happens in 3 days? He said, well, we got an online program. I said, well, how does that work? And, the teacher prepares some kind of curriculum for them to do at home, and then basically the parent's going to oversee it. So I said, I'm paying you the full tuition, and yet we've got to do the work, We've got to do the teaching. You're going to tell us what to do, but we've got to do it. I said, yeah. I said, well, that's not easy. I said, I'm working full-time still, so I can't do it. My wife is taking care of a 2-year-old. I don't know how she can just drop everything and now spend 3 hours a day.
Okay.
It's crazy. So I actually opted to cancel my enrollment.
Okay.
And we're going to wait till next year. And I also found it because I misunderstood. I thought the state law was she had to start at this age, but apparently kindergarten 1 is optional. Next year it's kind of mandatory. She has to start school. So we figured, you know what?
Just wait one
it's
more
not
year.
worth it. For two days a week, the classes are only 3 hours.
Sure.
And then the rest of the time we got to do all the work. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I got to say though, my stepdaughter, she's really disappointed. She was excited.
Looking forward to it.
She was really excited to go to school, meet some new friends, and so. But it just doesn't make sense.
Well, Maya's daughter is starting school this year too, so we'll have to get more details on that because I wasn't aware.
How old is she again?
5.
5. So she's going to kindergarten 2.
2, I think.
So that's the first year she's basically has to go.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Good luck to her on that.
Well, we've been going a while, but before we go...
I forgot.
I forgot we were even filming. What is your channel, and what is your channel about?
Okay, yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up. I did actually start a channel a couple of months ago. I think I did that because my wife has a channel, and she's been doing quite well, and I got inspired to want to do something that I'm passionate about. And I won't get into details about it, but I'm a Christian. And I felt like I wanted to do a channel that was Christian-based and about my life here in the Philippines as well as a Christian. So the channel's name is American Christian, in the Philippines.
Okay. And I'll link it in the description.
Thank you for that, and I appreciate any support on that channel and anybody that will subscribe. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Gary.
No, thanks, Gio. Good talking to you, always.
You too. You as well. Yeah. At some point, I guess I will guest.
I'm going to get you on my channel. We're going to find out what your
what my
beliefs are.
Beliefs are. Okay.
I look forward to that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Let's take it real.